Hi everybody, this is Rich of the Rich Maxwell channel. Welcome back to my channel. Today going to be talking about my camera. So I own the Sony A7 Mark II and this video is all about whether the Sony A7 Mark II is still worth buying in 2020. So happy new year to everybody. It's a brand new year and obviously going to be some great cameras coming out this year. But the Sony A7 II is a superb full frame mirrorless camera and gets the benefit of having the E-mount system, so you get to use some fantastic lenses from Sony and other third parties. I own several lenses. I've got a Viltrox lens here, which is a great lens from a third party, but there's also some superb lenses from Sony and their G Master lineup and their Zeiss lineup, and yeah, I've got a new lens on the way in fact as well, a Tamron lens. So the Sony A7 II, it was introduced about 5 or 6 years ago, so quite an old camera now, but that doesn't mean it's by any means obsolete and useless. It's still a high resolution camera with 24.3 megapixel sensor, and it's capable of shooting 1080p at 60 frames per second, or if you're in the UK here for some reason it's 50 frames per second in the options. And it gets the benefit as well of phase detect autofocus, so that means it's much faster at locking onto autofocus and much more accurate than the older contrast based auto detection autofocus systems. So that's great. It produces superb images. Being a full frame camera, it records so much more color depth than a crop sensor camera. This is my first full frame camera. Previously I'd used a Nikon camera for several years, so that was a crop censored camera. And while I was quite happy with the camera, when I saw this Sony A7 II at a superb price, I thought it made sense to make that jump up to full frame, and certainly have appreciated the images that you can get and the image quality you can get from a full frame camera. Now the other key benefit of the A7 II, which was an all new first from this camera, is that it has 5-axis in-body image stabilization. So this was the first full frame mirrorless camera to feature this image stabilization in the body. So that's a great feature to have because it means that the lenses don't have to have the image stabilization or optical stabilization built in, as you've got it in your camera already. So that can make the lenses a bit lighter weight and a bit cheaper as well in theory, although I have found that E-mount lenses are typically quite expensive. But the other benefit of the Sony E-mount system is that it's very good to use with adapted lenses. So I use Canon lenses quite often on this camera, and for photos Canon lenses work superbly. I've produced some great images using a wide angle 17-40 Canon L lens, and also have a Sigma telephoto 70-200 f2.8 lens, which has been fantastic for getting photos of animals at zoos and things, and so it works great with an adapter. Autofocus works brilliant for photos, but for video with an adapter, Canon lenses just don't seem to work, so you lose that autofocus benefit for video when you use adapted lenses. But a lot of people do prefer doing manual focus for video, so maybe not too much of an issue. But personally I like to use autofocus, so that was a bit of a problem for me. But not to worry, I've got plenty of E-mount lenses as well, so I've got around that problem without any issues really. But yeah, the Sony A7 II, certainly for photography, it will produce superb images, and it also gets the benefit in video of being able to shoot in S-Log2 format, which is a colour format that enables you to do a lot in post-production to really bring out colours and contrast and give a really good cinematic feel to your clips. So that's really good. It also gets the benefit of eye autofocus in the AFS mode. Unfortunately, it doesn't have eye autofocus in the AFC mode. I think you need an A7 III or an A7R2 to get that feature. But in AFS mode, the eye autofocus is really beneficial when you're doing portrait images. And typically when you're doing a portrait image, your subject's going to be stood still anyway, so AFS will work fine for that. AFC is more for when you've got moving subjects. So I found that really beneficial. Another thing that I love about this camera is that it connects over Wi-Fi to my phone. So when I'm putting together a video like this, I use the Imaging Edge application from Sony, and that enables me to see exactly what I'm filming, mess with the settings, ensure I'm in focus and everything. So that's a great feature as well and really helpful. I don't know Canons and Nikons, or Nikons as you might say in America. I don't know whether they have that feature yet or have it in some of the cameras, but it's certainly something that I use all the time in this camera, and it's great as well for when I'm out and about with my family and I want to get a photo from my camera on a tripod. I can quickly hook up over Wi-Fi and take the picture. So that's great as well, and it's something that not a lot of people mention about the camera, so I highly recommend it for that. And the negatives then. Firstly, what everyone talks about and what I've experienced as well is that the battery life is pretty poor. It uses an older type of Sony battery, and the newer A7 III does have a much better battery, but the A7 II batteries, they're quite small, so it doesn't last too long. When I shoot some videos, it can quite quickly get through a battery, but luckily I have got 4 batteries, so I've always got spares that are fully charged and ready to go, so it's not too much of an issue. You just carry loads of batteries, and the battery compartment's quick and easy to flip open and switch out the battery. So yeah, so that could be an issue for some people though, but as I say, not too much of a problem for me personally. And there is a grip available that you could obviously put an extra battery into, and you can get that quite cheaply, as there's aftermarket versions from Niwa. I think they're only about £30 here in the UK, so that could get around that problem, but it does add a bit more bulk to the camera, so it might not be the ideal solution, but it's one thing I'm looking at and considering for future. And another thing that is kind of more of a big deal for video, I would say the camera is kind of average really. The autofocus is a bit slow and it only shoots 1080p, whereas these days you can get an A6400 or I think an A6300 which will shoot 4K, and it's a similar price to this camera, but that is a crop censored camera, so it depends really how badly you want full frame, whether this camera is going to be worthwhile. Certainly if you want to do photography, it's a superb camera to pick up, so if you're doing photography and a bit of video, recommend this, but if you want to focus more on video, then the A6400 is probably the one that you'll want to look into. And another disadvantage with this camera, you don't get a flip out screen to see yourself. It does flip out slightly, and it is good in that if you want to get a photo low down, you want to be able to hold your camera near the floor, you can flip out the monitor and see what you're doing. And also if you're holding the camera up in the air, you can tilt the screen towards you, so that's really good, but it doesn't totally tilt around so that you can see yourself, so that can be a bit annoying at times. And a couple of other minor problems that I've had, the video shoot button is right on the side of the camera, so that's a really weird place to put it, and unless you've got really flexible thumbs, it's not easy to reach. So that's not ideal, but obviously when you shoot video you can just press the button and then sort of frame your subject and get shooting. But if you needed to capture video really quickly, say at a sports match or something, then it might be a bit slower to press that button, of course. And another thing that I don't like is the exposure compensation dial. It's right at the top and it hasn't got like a lock on it. So that means that when I put the camera away in my camera bag, it easily gets turned, and I quite often pull the camera out to get a shot quickly, and then after taking the shot I'll find that I've overexposed or underexposed, and then I'm thinking, why have I done that? And then it turns out that the dial has been turned to +or -2, so that's pretty annoying on it as well. That's the A7 II then. So as I said, I highly recommend it. I think it's a great option in 2020. Its price point at the moment, I think it's just over £1,000 on Amazon here in the UK with the kit lens. The kit lens I think is okay actually. I think it gets a bit of a bad rep, but it's a good lens to get started in the E-mount system, so certainly worth getting with the E-mount lens. So it's just over £1,000, and Sony is also doing a cashback offer with £200 cashback, so just over 800 quid you get a full frame camera with a lens, which is superb. You look at the Nikon or Nikon and Canon alternatives, and their full frame offerings, they're often like 1,500 quid just for the body, never mind a lens. So I think you're getting a lot more in this than you'll get in any other camera at this price point, so I highly recommend looking into this in 2020. As I said though, if you're looking to do video, then 6400, the A6400 would probably be a better camera for you. And if you take a look on Amazon at it now, I'll put a link in the description, that's an affiliate link, so that would help my channel out if you want to buy through that. But otherwise, have a look elsewhere. I think that's the cheapest price I've seen it for at the moment. At Curry's PC World here in the UK, it's about £1,300. So it looks like it's on a good offer on Amazon at the moment. I actually picked this up slightly cheaper than that back in about September time. I got it for £1,000 with the lens, and then there was £300 cashback at the time, so I got it for £700 after the cashback came through. And Sony were pretty good with the cashback. It paid out about a month after the date that it said I could redeem. So I think when I bought it, I had to wait 30 days before I could submit my cashback claim, and then within about 3 weeks after that, it was paid into my bank account. So that was really good from Sony, and another thing that another reason why I'd recommend this camera, and definitely make sure you get your cashback claim in, as that's a superb offer from Sony. But yeah, great camera, and as I said, I've bought this camera myself, so I get no benefit from recommending it or putting this review together. This is all my independent opinion on it. And as I said, I came from the Nikon system, and going so far over to this Sony system in terms of changing lenses and picking up lenses, I have found that the lenses for the EMAS system have been a bit expensive, but as I said, if you get an adapter, I've got this Yongnuo adapter which wasn't too expensive, only £80, and that's been superb for getting the Canon lenses to work for photos. Please note, only photos, not video. But yeah, great camera, and it's the one that I use for all my YouTube videos, and I find that the footage generally looks good. I'm really pleased with it, and the only thing that I would like though in future is to upgrade probably to the A7 Mark III when that drops down a bit in price, as I want to get that benefit of 4K and the faster autofocus, and also the A7 III has more autofocus points, so it is a better camera, and also that better battery life. So if they were the same price, obviously get the A7 III, or if there wasn't too much difference, get the A7 III. But at the moment, the A7 III here in the UK looks to be about twice the price. So that's why I'm happy with the A7II for now. But once that A7 III is cheaper, I'll probably upgrade to that. But that's a great thing as well about this camera. It's the E-mount system, so it's going to be very upgradable. All the lenses that I buy for it, I'm going to be able to use on my next camera and the camera after that, because I'll most likely stick with this E-mount system. It seems like Sony is doing great in the camera world. I read recently that they're now the second place camera manufacturer. Obviously Canon's the top camera make, and the Nikons are now in third, and were traditionally always second place. So Sony is doing really good in the camera world. They're putting together some great camera bodies and offering great features that you're not going to find from other manufacturers. So really pleased with this camera, and if you're looking into it, highly recommend just getting it, and you won't be disappointed one bit. Even though it's an older camera, as I said, the features, benefits that you get from this camera, its price points are unbeatable from all the other cameras out there. So I hope you found this video useful. Please consider subscribing and liking the video, and watch out for more videos. I put out videos every Wednesday and every Saturday, so more to come, and hope to see you all again on here soon. Bye for now, everybody.